Boom, we're live. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to imho.love. I'm Lou Angelwolf, and that's Mike Murburg. And we're here in Area 52, the sacred ET communication grounds. And they just wanted us to tell you everything's okay. So, welcome, everybody. imho.love, in my humble opinion, .love. That's what it's all about. We openly and plainly express that these are opinions. We don't try to pawn them off as facts, which you see a lot of these days, especially if you're watching mainstream media. I've been reading, I read people's posts as often.
We'll give you facts when we got them.
We like facts.
Yeah, facts are good.
Yeah,
Facts are good.
we like facts. But even the most profound fact can have a tinge of slant or angle or,
We all die. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
There's no slant or angle. at least in the material world.
Those are those core facts.
Yeah.
Those core facts.
Facts,
But we try to stay as factual as possible. 98% of all that news flying around is brought to you by 6 media companies. Check my facts. They're true. And that leaves you about 2% of fact-gathering sources, which Mike and I try to provide for you every Wednesday night at 7:30. The show is here on Facebook Live. It also gets transferred. Our lovely producer, Kathy McGuire, she moves everything over to YouTube. It makes it over to BitChute. It's on Podbean. So everything goes. Everything goes that way. And we make it so we're easy to get a hold of. If you like, please like this program and subscribe and share it. Share it as often as you like. It's interesting where some of our shows wind up sometimes. We have fans in Tasmania. I always find it funny to see your Tasmanian feed.
all over the world.
How are we doing in Tasmania? How's that market going? But anyway.
It's the devil to play.
Yeah. And thank you for tuning in. All of our regulars. Mark, always good to see your name light up. Of course, Kat Carroll, who is such a wonderful contributor to the show. And of course, the beautiful Pamela. And many others. I have another list I'll go through in a little bit. But I wanted to get right up front. Tonight's topic is the weapons of mass distraction. It's bad headlines are really leading the world right now. You'll read a headline and it will say, it'll make some outlandish claim. And you just go, wow, look at that. And then when you actually read the article, there's no facts in it. It's just double talk. And a lot of it comes from these fact-checking sources, which unless, and they'll flag something as a bad fact if it doesn't exactly fit the narrative, okay? And even if there's one slight thing wrong with it, if you have a date wrong, if you have a place wrong, they will flag it. It turns that gray screen.
Misuse an objective pronoun and you're done.
I don't even think they know the difference between an objective pronoun these days.
That's okay.
But so that's so what you said. Everything. I mean, you're really. My hat is off, and I give you praise. I give you love. If you continue to keep looking till you find something that makes sense. Just some of these fact checks things, they just spin you into this double speak, triple speak, nothing pertaining to the actual claim, and of course a little time for them to spread their agenda. And I think what's going on right now is, and this isn't even over yet. I mean, we still got protesters and looters and crimes happening and people being assaulted. It really, really has raised the temperature in those areas as far as racial consciousness and all those other things go. It's going to be a rocky summer from what everybody says. Of course, I don't even know to trust them if that's what they say anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be. Maybe it'll be great. I don't know. But it's all one day at a time, just like our friends in those rooms tell us, one day at a time. And you wake up each day, and I got to do this. I have to make a conscious effort, Mike, because this, if you watch this news cycle too long,
you go crazy.
You'll go crazy. My beautiful friend Laura Ann, she just posted a little while ago. She says the news is making her sick. And
guess what? Intended.
Yeah, absolutely intended. So that means they did a good job. And I'm sorry that happened to you. But I can tell you, you do have to walk away from the blinking light. Both of them, the one that you can control and the one that you can't. You got to walk away. You got to get away from that narrative for a while, because you know what? It's going to affect your life, but it is a small slice of everything that happens in your life. You have so many other beautiful things to dwell upon, so much more consciousness to become aware of, that wasting your time there, just make it stop. And hey, you can, I always check the Corbett report. He doesn't always have good news, but he's got believable news. You know why? Because he's a real journalist. James Corbett, the Corbett Report. You really want some square shooting about what's going on. I mean, he's a little right of center, but not crazy. But he really does true journalism. He'll tell you both sides. He'll tell you what's not true. He'll tell you what's true, and to the best of his ability. And I really, really appreciate that. There's so much slander and just bad, gleaming yellow journalism out there anymore, and they don't even fix it. Even when it's found to be fact, that on page 8 underneath the the ad for a '68 Dodge Dart, you'll have a little retraction. Oh, sorry, a couple weeks ago we said something really horrible, and we want to take it back. We didn't really mean it. Okay. And then you look and you go, hey, I think I'd like to have a '68 Dodge Dart, but I don't care about that thing. I love '68 Dodge Darts.
Nice line 6 convertible top.
Yeah, nice car.
Yeah.
Bulletproof.
Yep.
Bulletproof.
On the road somewhere.
And on that note, I'll have a nice announcement next week. It's not all the ink isn't dry on this, but next week I think I'll have a really nice announcement, and I'm happy for me for a change. But no, I'm happy all the time. Anyway, United we
you pretty much are.
I am.
I don't see you get bumped out.
Yeah. I mean, I have my slumps,
Yeah, you're resilient.
Yeah, I bounce right back, and I think what it is I've been talking to my mom. My mom's watching the show these days, and that makes me so happy. I was talking to her about meditation right before sleep, and for those of you who watch too much television or too much time on the internet, and your head is just spinning, what's happening, who's going where, what did that guy say, what was that all about?
And you're out of vodka.
You're out of potato juice.
Yeah.
And but a couple of really nice things for sleeping. I've gone over this a few times over the years, but here's a good time to remind everybody. The least amount of electronics you can possibly get in your bedroom or your sleeping space. Take it out of the room if you can. Do a hard shut off if it's a permanent fixture in there. Those radio waves or those microwaves or that energy that's coming off of that equipment is interruptive to your sleep in a subtle way. So all electronics off. Make the room dark and cool as possible. Be comfortable, however you really like it, but dark and cool works good for me. And
like you're having a migraine.
The whole migraine thing's got a lot of distance with this. And the other thing, if you can't sleep, and I find this, it really helps me sometimes, I get up and I take a hot shower. The hot shower raises your internal body temperature, and then when you go back and you lay down, you start to regulate. Your body's temperature starts to regulate, and it actually does make you a little tired and you can fall asleep. But the big trick is, say you're laying there, you had your hot shower, all the electronics are off, it's dark and cool, and you still can't sleep, you can't shut your brain off. My favorite meditation is some deep breathing right up front, all the way to count up to 4 on the way in, and all the way out to 5 on the way out. And you do this several times, and don't make yourself dizzy, but do it several times, and then put yourself in a comfortable sleeping position. If you're a side sleeper, get to your side or back sleep, however you like to sleep. Put yourself in a position that you would like to fall asleep in, or your preference. And then what I do is I totally try to clear my mind. If I have any trouble, if I have any problems, I try to picture the problem happening, and then I wrap it in a bubble, and then I bounce it off. I get it out of my way. I didn't get rid of it, but I put it away from me for a while. It'll be there tomorrow when I go to think about it. But you're having job problems or relationship problems or kid problems or whatever. You put those in a bubble and you bounce them away from you, clearing the air in front of you. My favorite go-to place is a desert scene. I love a nice, peaceful desert with an obsidian sky, some beautiful starlights up there, a calm desert floor. Maybe my little cabin is backed up to a mountain and I have this beautiful view. And you can make it as nice as you want. It's all yours. It totally can be yours. It's all yours. And then I just start with my gratitudes. I'm laying there in this beautiful place, surrounded by peace and tranquility. And then I start doing my thank yous. I'm thank you for, of course, my mother's health, which a lot of you really helped pray her through a few months ago, and I can continuously just thank you so much. And then my family, and then my son, and then you start getting into the things of the world. You're thankful for your shelter. You're thankful for the meal you had. You're thankful for the promise of tomorrow. And by the time you get several minutes into your gratitudes, you start to fade out. If I stay doing gratitudes longer than 5 or 6 minutes, it's a lot. By then I've found sleep, and sleep has found me. But what's beautiful is when you go from that meditative state to the sleep state. That's just like the beautiful entry there. You just get right in there. And man, just rocking 7 straight hours of sleep, get up, and I get up slow. And but 7, I'll do 8 if I can, So don't be wearing yourself out. Don't let these weapons of mass distraction get on you. Mike, what I know you have wonderful meditation methods, and you've been 1,000 different. Can you add anything to that, or is that how do you? Because you got, with your being an attorney, and this show is brought to you by disabilityattorney.net. That's disabilityattorney.net. That's Mike's practice. If you have disability issues, there's your guy. You got cases on your mind. You got people on your mind. You got friends, family.
Only when I have to.
Only when you have to.
Yeah, it's clear the mind, man.
Yeah,
It just clear it.
You can sweep it.
Yeah, that's a lesson I learned. When I was playing ball, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to start making your way down to the field, and you know, for a 4 o'clock practice. And about a little afternoon, I'd start dreading it because the drills were really tough and really, you know, very difficult.
So when you were playing baseball?
Oh, football.
Football.
And
at Princeton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then one of my teammates said, "Just don't think about it until 3:30." And I'm like, "You can do that?" And I did. I started doing that. You know, it's all part of meditation. But yeah, you learn how not to think, and then when you need to think, then you hyper focus. That's what it's all about. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm not talking or thinking. My mind's on the hook.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember many years ago, I've been in the automotive industry in many different facets, but I worked at a really big production car dealership. We sold hundreds of cars a week, and the cleanup department was super busy all the time. And a lot of people working there, like 15, 20 guys there all the time. And the manager, who had to control all these people and all this inventory flowing in and out, he had a sign in his office that said, "Don't think." Don't think, just do. That's what it said. Don't think, just do. And
Two ways you could take that, but
yeah,
I'll go with the favorable one.
yes, of course. Yeah, you definitely could take that as
But yeah,
arrogance.
some people shouldn't think. I mean, when you watch them, they really don't do a good job of it. So
Right, exactly.
At
Yeah.
some point in time, that's a universal message.
I think what it was pertaining to is everybody's been trained.
Yeah.
You know, don't vary from that, and don't think, just do.
Yeah,
But
follow my lead.
yeah, do
Yeah.
as I say, not as I do.
No, do as I do.
Do as I do.
Do as I do. That's the Tao way.
Do as I do.
Yeah,
It makes more sense.
absolutely. And do as I say. What do you think you are, a Democrat? I mean,
That's right.
I am, but I don't tell people what to do.
Oh man, and I tell you, what's fatiguing is when you watch the images on television, you see people being hurt, and there's a lot of empathic people, especially that listen to our show regularly, and sympathetic people that listen to the show. When you look at these things and you see these images all the time of people being hurt and people yelling and screaming in each other's face and all that stuff, I mean, it really it fains me back, man. I'm just like, I can't take a whole lot of it. But that is fatiguing, and it makes you really tired. See, I tagged you on your phone, so if you go to my book, we may be, my Facebook page, we may be on that. I think I tagged you.
Tag me
on Facebook Live, yeah.
On Facebook Live.
Yeah, so if you just go to my,
Yeah, there we go.
are we there?
Yeah, it looks
Good.
like I'm looking at my phone, so I think.
Okay, good, we're live then.
It's not last.
We got any messages?
Yeah, you guys suck.
That?
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That guy's back.
Remember him? He was so much fun. God, whenever he was smoking, I wish I had some of it.
Yeah. And while there we are. There we're laughing. We're having fun. Yeah, that's the show.
Well, it is. It's a fun show.
And I want to say thanks to my contributors, people who send me stuff throughout the week. Bobby, Jeff, of course, Caroline. Thank you so much. Anne, you're a doll. Yvonne, wow. Yvonne sent me that 7-level list of how awake you are. I sent it on to you. It's like there's some topics in there. You're like, okay, I've only heard of that. Yeah, I've only heard. So thank you very much. And of course, Nikki, you're doing a fantastic job, and I love the professional spin you put on it, and it's good work. And of course, Laura as well. So thanks everybody that contributes, and I appreciate most of what you send me. And of course, Marie, she's like my comic relief. She sends me some really funny stuff, but that's on the Facebook side of things. But what we found out, there's a certain group of people that's collecting money for another group of people, under their banner, but consequently redistributing the money they collect back into their till, for the sake of not arguing. That's a scam. That's a scam. And
It sounds like Black Lives Matter in the way they funnel money to Democratic candidates.
I tried to not say that.
Well, I mean, that's you. I can say that. I don't care who I piss off.
Okay,
That's the way it is.
all right. Well, and you're right.
And whatever I say is not really is my own opinion.
It's IMHO, but that whole thing, and if you go to donate to them, then you hit this other. It says Act Blue is where it's going to. Then when you go into Act Blue and you look who their main contributors are, and it's everybody in the Democratic Party, and it's amazing. These are the same people that, consequently,
The Democratic Party is the deep state.
It is the deep state.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
And just really well coordinated protests and riots and conspicuous bricks and piles of stones of perfect throwing size left in areas. I don't really get it. I mean, whether they really think that creating that much chaos is going to send people running to them, because to be honest with you, they really don't have a leader that is a fixer.
Yeah.
They don't have any.
So it's like the Communist Party in 1928 through 1932 Germany. They just couldn't get a leader together, and that's why Hitler filled the vacuum. I know it's an oversimplistic statement, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
I think it's happening here. The vacuum they're creating by their own weakness is going to get filled by Donald Trump. Whether you like it or not, I think that's the way it's going.
Well, it's really a big division, and that, united we stand, divided we fall. They're trying to divide us even further. It wasn't enough to divide us between red states and blue states. It wasn't enough to divide us between conservatives and liberals. It wasn't enough to divide us in our race, blacks versus whites versus browns versus yellow. There was none of, as if we weren't divided enough. So now they really got us down into these small little pods, and we have lost strength as a group. I can look past a lot of people's problems, man. I read the parable of the Good Samaritan the other night, and for those of you who don't know the story, you've heard Good Samaritan your whole life. It's a Bible story, and there was a guy venturing down.
It's like innocent bystander.
Innocent bystander, yeah.
He's a bad Samaritan.
Well, there might have been bad Samaritans.
Well, they didn't make it to the book.
But there was no stories written about that. Guy gets beat up on the road. They leave him there laying there half dead. The aristocrats, the Pharisees, they walked by, they looked down at him, and they kept going. They just said, he's probably got too many problems for me. And then other groups walked by him, but the Samaritans took the guy in, they helped him up, they took him to a lodge or an inn, and they set him up there, they got him food, they got him cleaned up, and they said, we gotta go now, but whatever bills this guy incurs while he's here, we'll tighten you up on our return trip. And the only reason they did that, because the guy was a human being, and
because they were rich. They should call these like the rich Samaritans.
Were they the rich Samaritans?
He paid. Well, they paid his lodging into the future. It's
yeah.
Like, what kind of Samaritan without money would do that?
Right. That's true. Or but I what's funny though, Mike? I've known a lot of selfless people in my life, and I do know people that literally do without so others can have.
Right.
And to a complete stranger that you found laying on the side of the road, that's where your humanity gets big. But that was a beautiful case of loving someone just because they're human. Now, they didn't stop to listen to the guy's story or why he was there or how come he got beat up or how it all happened. They just said, there's the guy in need, so let's take care of him. Now, I'm most of the way there in my life. I love human beings for the sake of human beings. I don't think I'm quite there with unconditional love. I've heard a lot of people tell me about unconditional love, but man, you really got to be centered and balanced, and you got to be in the moment every moment to really think that you possess unconditional love.
Well, the Tao largely teaches that actually the greatest love is an impersonal love.
The greatest love is
Impersonal.
impersonal.
Yes.
Okay, like a general love.
No, like exactly what happened in the Good Samaritan.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's impersonal. There's nothing in it.
Right. There's nothing to gain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just another human being. So how more impersonal can you get than just being another human being?
That's beautiful.
There you go.
It's beautiful, and that's where that's what we're working towards. I'm not there yet. I love a lot of people, and a lot of people even on this list, a lot of people on my pages, a lot of people have been listening to me for a lot of years. I do love you, man. Really, if you need a kidney and we match up, I'll do it. If that's going to cause you to live and have a happy life, I'm in. But
If you got,
I got 3.
If you don't, I was gonna say, if you don't need 2 kidneys. Hey, I got one. This is together we stand, divided we fall, confused we're still screwed.
Confused, we're still screwed. Yes.
I know when you use the F word, but I'm not quite sure if kids are listening.
Yeah, and that's all from the manipulati.
Yes.
That's Mike's phrase, the manipulati, and that's really what they're doing to us, folks. They're trying to tear us apart. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is the knight in shining armor and all this stuff. He was never really my kind of guy.
He's the great pumpkin.
The great pumpkin.
You got here.
Yeah. But from what I can tell, I don't see anybody else on the other side that has the stones to take care of it. And I don't know anybody on the other side that could have withstood what's going on right now. These last few months were to test anyone's mettle. Anyone in the whole world would have a very, very difficult time. And the thing that probably perturbs me the most about the press, you can take a shot at somebody in the press if you want, that's fine. But this continuous kicking a guy on the way down, it's really, really ugly. Just there's no mercy at all. And the guy is just constantly accused of things he didn't do. And, well.
Have you seen the cartoon, Trump versus, on Family Guy, Trump versus Peter Griffin?
No.
Oh, it's so funny.
Is it?
It all goes on forever. It's like, if it's out there, check it out. It's Trump versus Peter Griffin.
Trump versus Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
That does sound funny.
It's funny. I died laughing. I had to watch it twice.
It's amazing the inside jokes those guys have.
All the time. It's like, how did this guy ever know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane.
He's a genius.
He's a genius, and I think he's inside.
Yeah.
Way inside.
Yeah, he's got that overdose on adrenochrome kind of look.
He knows. Yeah. He's just that hyper existence.
Yeah.
He doesn't get as tired as we do.
No, he doesn't. And he just seems to know where everybody is all the time.
Yeah.
And what they're doing.
Yeah. And they got a little, and all the stuff that the Simpsons predicted all this stuff in the future that actually happened. So, but anyway. Well, folks, what we do here at imho.love is it's about CE5, which is the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, HICE, Human Initiated Contact Experience, which is basically the same thing. And then we have AHA and HaHa. And I do want to send out my deepest condolences to his family and all my comedian friends. You may not know it yet, but just a couple hours ago, Ron Moranian passed over into the next dimension. Ron Moranian was a South Florida comic. He was 74, 75, had a lot of intestinal problems, and he passed away today. Ron Moranian, the Armenian comedian, really, really funny guy, original thinker. I got to work with him several times in my life. In fact, he was one of the first touring pros that I ever saw. I was just really, really enamored by him, and just a good guy. And we hope he enjoys the next dimension as much as we're going to. So, but what we try to do is A, make sense of what we're hearing, and B, try to help everybody figure out the way it might be happening. I think about it all week, and I pray for you all week, and I meditate. You're in my meditations, you're in my healing prayers, and this whole thing, several years ago, I wrote this piece called "The Pacifist Riot." It's on Lutopia.com, The Pacifist Riot. It's also on imho.love. If you go to the banner there, it says Pacifist Riot. I've posted it several times over the years. And it really is, this is the perfect time for it. It's taking the confusion, unsnarling the tackle box that's not been taken care of, and trying to make sense of what's going on. And then try to give you a practical way to deal with it and make it so it's not so harsh or grievous on you. You know, Mike, Mikepedia, he has a working knowledge of almost everything, and that's one of the most interesting conversations. We have almost better conversations after the show than we do during the show. We recap on what we said. We say, we should have said that.
Yeah, what did we miss?
Yeah. Well, we work with minimal notes, and we try to make it a stream of consciousness. We try to leave the spirit very open for interpretation for you and us, and we definitely feel your energies. Kat Carroll sent me a piece. In June 20th is another mass meditation. We just had one last Sunday. I know several of you joined in. Thank you. And if we can get the whole world meditating, praying, understanding, being peaceful, loving, caring, sending good vibrations, however you want to put it, all at once, we really do have the power to heal our planet, heal each other.
That'd be a great idea, is actually having a massive, instead of demonstration, a massive meditation.
Massive meditation is where it's at, bro.
I mean, instead of protesting, let's sit down and meditate. Let's come to grips with who we are and where we're going, and what we really want.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now, and it's all such a huge political theater, which is repulsive in itself. But what you have here is a small group of people on all occasions. Really, the numbers are actually very small to the people that are that pissed and that far out of sorts on all angles, on all parts of the spectrum. Okay, there's only a few people within each of those groups that are really flared up. So, but they're the ones that make the best news stories these days. So that's who's getting all the broadcast. Where we understand that part of this is a show, and I feel so horrible because innocent people are being hurt and killed. That officer, that retired David Dorn out there protecting a piece of property at 2 o'clock in the morning, shot down in the street, and they just They watched him die on their phone. They just sat there and watched him die. 77-year-old retired police captain. They just sat in there.
Yeah, an African American. You know, tell me what I am though. This is a good question for you.
Okay.
There's a guy who does signs for me. Okay.
Guy does signs.
Signs for me, yeah. And we have a common friend together.
Okay.
And he goes, "Oh, you met my black friend?" And I said, "He's Jamaican."
Right.
It's like,
right.
I mean, am I not seeing race, or am I seeing race? I'm not.
Well, I think your friend is more than you.
Yeah, but you got to go in his shop because he's got all these black guys working for him, and they slur each other all over the place, and it's funny as hell, and they don't take it race seriously.
Sure, yeah.
It's like I was working back on the shipyards again, where everybody had a racial slur for their nickname,
Yeah.
and that's what you called them.
Right.
Or else you wouldn't know who you're talking about.
You know, it's been said for years and years, part of the mass distraction is political correctness.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to say, and I'm more politically correct these days just out of respect. And for one, I don't enjoy conflict, so I don't start it over things I say or try to. The political correctness, the fact that you have to put everything so delicately that people don't get offended or hurt, I get it, and when I can pull it off, great. But there are times, and it's not all me. I mean, I'm Italian, which have been slurred and slammed all their lives. I'm German, which they got issues of their own.
And they're still paying reparations.
They're still paying reparations. I'm Native American, and I don't got to tell you nothing more about what happened to those folks. And I'm cool. I'm okay. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know. I don't take any of that stuff personally. It's nothing that I can really help. But
it's not like I'm a Polak or something.
You know what, Mike? The Polish really deserve huge kudos in that department.
Yeah.
They, you know, there was, when I was a kid, they had the Polak joke books. There was like, you know,
it was a great empire until they like invented gunpowder and forts wouldn't stand up, and if you didn't have a high tor to defend from, you're done. So that was the end of the Polish Empire. You know, although the Poles did save the West in the 1555. General Sobieski took the Polish cavalry and attacked the Moors unexpectedly and defeated them at the Battle of Vienna.
The Battle of Vienna?
Yeah, I believe it was Vienna, yeah.
And that was Poland?
Yeah, it was Poland that saved the asses of the West.
Yes, yeah. And see, that right there, the fact that beautiful piece of history is right there for us to know. However you're going to feel about it, history is history. But all of this removal of history, yeah, I mean, they tore down Confederate statues, and then they also tore down statues that were on their behalf, these rioters, these gangs. But you know what? In defense of that, one of the hardest things to interpret or to predict in your life is what is an angry mob gonna do. You have no idea. You don't know the shifting of the energy within an angry mob. It can turn things so absolutely ugly, like we've seen. And also, too, this by the same note, if there are people within the group that are keeping it cool and keeping it together, you can have a peaceful protest and let your voice be heard and offer your words for reason. But when you're burning down people's shops, you're burning down businesses, you're breaking everything in sight, you're stealing, you're robbing, you're doing everything, it is very, very hard to respect that type of protest. And because somebody's going to pay for it, it ain't you.
You know, one of the comments on the news that I saw was a Black Lives Matter person, and they said it doesn't matter. We're burning down a place. They got insurance. They'll bring it back. But the reality is, is no, they don't. The small businessman does not have insurance that'll insure him.
Not that much
from
insurance.
an insurrection. No,
Right.
You don't get insured for that. You can't afford that. So their assumption that like the Hong family who's been running this business for 20 years has insurance, they're probably wrong. So it's not right to burn anything down or to destroy.
No, and it's the opposite way of peace. And I understand sometimes you gotta, shake the cabinet a little bit. I understand that to get people to pay attention to you. But destroying lives and livelihoods is, you'll find they will eventually find out. This will simmer down someday. That you can't keep that fevered pitch very long.
And you carry it over into your next life. So who wants to go from being a human to something less than a human?
Yeah, we've done enough time as moss.
Yeah, human lives matter. Don't blow it.
I've been a lichen too many times. But what I'm saying is, and we've said this all along, cooler heads will prevail, and that's what is going to save us. Is those who really know how to reason.
Those who can read.
Yeah, it's good to read. Yeah, read a book. And I'm trying to be as understanding as I can be to everybody across the boards. And I wanted to say this on this show in particular. I was raised in Central Florida, and I had a lot of friends. A lot of them were African American guys, black guys, however you want to call it, whatever they like. That's what they can call themselves. All through junior high, all through high school, I played sports, this, that, and the other thing, and many friends. And I don't. I'm like you, man. I don't see the color as it's never an issue till somebody makes it an issue.
Yeah, people either smart or they're not so smart.
Right.
I don't care what
Remember what color you are. If you're kind of dumb, I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, it's
But
we got nothing to talk about.
But
not much.
The big thing, and this is where my heart aches, and this is where I know a lot of the pain comes from. A lot of these guys were raised without a dad. Fatherlessness is a very, very difficult thing to do. My own dad, Big Lou, for those of you who know him, what a great, great guy. And the guy came from less than nothing, okay? My dad was, he had his dad part-time till he was about 9 years old. And then one day, my dad had an older brother who's passed on, and of course, Ludwig, the dad, is gone now, too. They left my dad standing in the front yard of his house saying, "Hey, we're going to go to the store. We'll be back in a little bit." This is in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. And they drove to Florida, and they didn't come home. And they left my dad there at 9 years old with his mother, who was a school teacher, who had consequently been seeking psychiatric issues. Okay? She'd been going to the psychiatrist, and I just think she was just, nobody was getting counseling back then the way they should. I think she lived with a very difficult man, and she was depressed. I believe that she was depressed. But my dad, from 9 years old on, had to deal with a very hard situation. He went to work when he was 11 to eat. And the love that grew inside of him over the years. My dad was 17 years old when I was born. And then there was my brother Keith, and then my sisters Nancy and Michelle over the next several years. My old man was hard on me. He was tough on me. He called me names. He was rough. But I never doubted for a moment that he loved me. And a lot of guys never had that comfort. They never knew that their dad loved them. They maybe didn't even know where their dad was, if anywhere, to be had, to be found, to be thought of. So the problem of fatherlessness is gigantic.
Yeah, well, the Tao teaches that you lead by example, and if you don't have a good example in your household, how are you going to know? How are you going to learn?
Yeah, it's true.
So without the example, these guys can't be faulted to a degree, but at a certain age, the light bulb has to turn on. Usually in males, unfortunately, it's like 23 to 25, where
Right.
we're all late bloomers. But the problem is that these younger guys, the front of the brain really doesn't grow to the extent that they can appreciate danger and risk until they're 22, 23. That's why, great soldiers are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. They don't appreciate the risk they're getting into. That's why the Army and Marines recruit them, because it's easy. But yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect.
Wandering with it.
No, but and that ability to reason, okay, happens to you faster if you had somebody instructing you your whole life.
Right, just follow the example.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you take out a spark plug? Well, I have no idea. I mean, we grew up in the day where there's no YouTube. It's like,
That's right.
You had to ask your father, and if your father wasn't around.
Sure.
I mean, then you'd have to go to, hang out with your buddies and learn how to, do disc brakes and the rest of that kind of stuff.
Sure, and you do it wrong, and then they make fun of you, and then you got to do it again.
Yeah, but once again, it's having good male examples around. It's
Sure.
not just one. I mean, as much as I hate to say it takes a village to raise a kid, but it takes a lot of fathers to raise a good man.
It does. It really does. And so, in that, I'll finish up my end here. In that level of success, my dad was 100 times better dad than his dad was. My grandpa, Dieter, I wasn't that close to him. He wasn't a guy you could really get close to. He was an old, stubborn kraut who showed me Stern magazine from Germany.
And out of March, where those funny ads.
Yeah. I don't doubt that. And so my dad, like I said, was 100 times better dad than his dad. And I have a son, and I try to be a good, loving, caring dad. I don't know if I've reached the level of my dad yet, but there's some things I've certainly spared my son that were hard for me to grow up with. But like I said, enough about me. These are guys that they raised each other. They're brothers and their sisters and their neighbors and their friends. They raised each other. And that's not terrible, but the worst part is they were raised by the television. And the television has many, many, many poisonous messages. And that's where a lot of guys lost their track. And especially in the last 20 years, 25 years, you've had the really, really angry gangster rap stuff, F the police and all that stuff, which is counterproductive to our society. It absolutely has to be. There's just no, I understand there's bad cops, okay? There's bad cops. And there's bad people. And the reason there's bad cops is there's bad people, and the reason there's bad people is because there's bad cops. You have to, I think what everybody kind of has to do is, if you're okay, and if you're living a balanced life, you need to lean into yourself and give a little more prayer time, a little more meditation time to the overall energy of what's happening here. Because your thoughts, prayers, ideas, meditations, healings, frequencies, whatever you're sending can heal the world. The human thought is the most powerful dynamic on this earth. The Schumann resonance, read up on that stuff. We really can change the way things are. And even right here at imho.love, we're just a little piece of leaven, but a little bit of leaven can float a whole loaf. So that's what we're trying to ask you to do. Be sympathetic to those that are hurting, and do the best that you can do. And be grateful. Your attitude of gratitude is absolutely huge, and that will help you shine through these days.
take you to a higher latitude.
You'll take her to a higher latitude. That's exactly right.
Get the trifecta.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my, look how time has flown. Wowee. It's always beautiful talking to y'all. Please like the show if you did. Share it. Feel free to share it. I think we said some valuable points. You know, get away from the TV for a while. Really, really do. Stay off the internet for a while. Really, you got to do some grounding. You got to get your feet into the earth. Take a walk. Get some fresh air. Take your mask off for a while, and just kind of go back to your natural man. You know, just kind of go back to your natural man. You have an immune system. It's been serving you well. You know, and it's all these little slighted things. 99% of the people are going to recover from the coronavirus. And you got 99% of the people that are generally okay, but there's a 1% of the population that's really pissed about everything. And then you got, it's all the small numbers right now are getting their voice. And this shaming that this mask shaming that I'm noticing is these guys put these condescending things out of, if you're not bright enough to put on a mask, you can just defriend me right now. And I'm like, really? That's where you draw the line? That's the depth of you?
That makes it easy.
It doesn't.
I got to reduce my list anyhow.
I got almost 5,000 people on there.
You know, yeah, I know. We're going to break the boat. Hey,
Yeah.
and for the women who are listening, go back to the natural woman.
The natural woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the natural woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were gifted to have mothers that grew up in a time where it was rare to have mothers work, and you know,
Yeah.
that's one thing. Of course, mine did. So
Yeah.
you know, there's a plus and minus.
Your mom was a professor, right?
She's a teacher. She
Teacher?
got a couple master's degrees, but
Yeah.
so what?
Well, yeah.
In my field, it's like if you're not a doctor,
Right.
You don't rate. I'm sorry.
Well, it's, but you know, and I was raised with a sweet, sweet mama, and I hope you're still watching. I never, you know, she gave me life. She was carrying me when I got my download from ET.
She gave you a sensibility too.
Yeah.
You know, there's balance to it. You know, you got your dad, you know, who was made a force de majeure, a natural force, and your mother was a natural healer.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So you had a good balance there, and that's what we should all have. We should all be so lucky, and we can do it. You just got to work for it. You just got to figure it out. If you find your teacher, find your example, and follow it. I mean, you can use video to a positive end, and you can do that. So many of us grew up watching movies and stuff on TV that taught us how a man rode a horse,
Right.
how a man shot a gun,
Right.
how a man treated a woman, how a man would talk and walk and act and behave.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that the examples that we had in our mass media when we were growing up are not the examples they have today. The examples they have today, for the most part, are horrible.
Yeah, there's some really, really bad programming out there, and there's some people that have a very, very selfish agenda, and they probably know how many people they're damaging, but they're so ignorant to their own program.
You know, since when did calling somebody a bitch, since when has that been good? So not in my vocabulary, but it's used all over the place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you know,
completely denigrating.
the whole, you know, the one thing I remember, I'm 60, okay, but I remember MF, okay, that was a harsh curse word, and I've seen some movies done that were like in a time era, and they used that word all the time, like it was like cast in the 50s or the 60s.
Right.
People didn't talk like that back then.
Right.
That word was exclusive. That was if you got to that point, it was time to start throwing hands.
Right.
You know, so, but now it's so, and it's such a degrading word. I mean, it's just, it's bad. Just the vision of it is bad. The tone of it is bad. And I know it's kind of morphed its way into its own, fourth dimension of definition, but we just need to be more respectful of each other. I'll never stop being who I am. I'll always hold the door for you. I'll always say please and thank you. I'll always leave a decent tip at a restaurant. But that's just part of me trying to treat other people the way I want to be treated. And that was one thing I noticed when I lived out in Austin, Texas. I told my mom, I go, Mom, I said, you'd be amazed. I probably use 20 minutes a day holding doors for people out here. I said, but I save 20 minutes a day because that many people hold a door for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening in. We love you a bunch. Like I said, please like it. Share this on any platform that you like. Say your prayers. Hug your mama. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday night, 7:30 here at Facebook Live, and then YouTube, and then BitChute, and imho.love is the home, the mothership. And thank you so much. Say goodnight, Mike.
Good night, Mike. Peace out.
Oh, love you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're still going. Yeah, we're still going. There we are. And I'm